Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Legends of Takaful, a podcast series proudly put together by actuarial partners celebrating 40 years of Takaful in Malaysia. So, who is a legend? It's easy to look back and see who is a legend, as hindsight is 2020. But what about the current leaders in Takaful? Who will be the legends of tomorrow? In this series, we'll sit down and have a conversation with pioneers and founders of Takaful in Malaysia. People who truly shaped the industry, going beyond the numbers and finding out what really inspired them, their challenges and struggles, as well as their insights. We truly hope that this will both help drive Takaful forward for the next 40 years, as well as assist countries in just starting out with Takaful. In the first 10 years of Takaful, there was only one operator, Syarikat Takaful Malaysia, or STM. Anyone entering the STM office during those days knew things were done differently. The first time I went to a meeting with the CEO there, Dato' Fazli, I even remember having to take my shoes off at the entrance of the floor. They had a monopoly at that time, and they focused on establishing a presence, rather than having the cheapest rates and fierce competition. Back then, the loss ratios for motor business were noticeably better than conventional insurance, which was surprising due to the small size of STM, and the need to be large and strong enough to control the workshops. STM used Bank Islam branches as the main distribution source. The second entrant was Takaful National, or TN, the Takaful operations of the national insurer MNI. TN is now Etika and focused on agency force distribution during those days. Those days we had heavy debates on whether it was acceptable to have agents selling Takaful, promoting actually, as how the model would work, as until that point we used a Mudaraba model, with the operator paying most expenses out of surplus sharing, which occurs at the end of the year. Several years later, Maybank obtained a Takaful license, and TN eventually combined with Maybank Takaful to give rise to Etika, which had a full lineup of agency and bancassurance distribution channels for Takaful, as well as conventional insurance. During the same time, the first Retakaful operator in Malaysia started, Ariel. So whereas the first operator relied on bank branches, and the second operator relied on its existing agency force infrastructure, Takaful Ikhlas, starting 10 years after TN, had to start from scratch. This led the CEO, Dato' Syed Mohib, to drive a number of innovative solutions, including bringing the Wakala model over from the Middle East. This represents roughly the halfway point so far of the Takaful journey in Malaysia. Several years later, the era of the multinationals in Takaful began, with a range of global insurers and reinsurers recognizing the potential of this market. Prudential in particular brought synergy to its products, creating Takaful equivalents of its conventional insurance products, especially unit-linked plans. This was also the time that Bank Negara really strengthened the regulatory focus on Takaful through JPIT. Regulations were held fairly consistent between Takaful and conventional insurance, with the goal of creating a level playing field. Today, Takaful is at a crossroads in Malaysia. Although we've come a long way, we still have a long way to go to rival conventional insurance in Malaysia. Will Takaful focus on consistency with conventional insurance? Or will there be increasing innovation in the models used as well as market segments focused on? Will we be able to use Takaful to increase insurance penetration in Malaysia, especially underserved markets? Insurance in any form is about managing risks and building trust. Takaful can truly be key in many market segments in building this trust and forming the foundation of a population that understands its risks and how to manage them. This is the foundation of true financial literacy, which must be a goal for the next 40 years. Actuarial Partners has been involved since the beginning of Takaful in Malaysia and has been involved in some way with all the Takaful operators here. We truly hope that this podcast series is useful and the next 40 years of Takaful development is equally exciting. Malaysia boleh!
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the 9th episode of the series Legends of Takaful. The series aims to celebrate the individuals who have contributed to the development of Takaful in Malaysia. It's been 40 years since the first Retakaful company was established in 2024. Today we welcome Encik Ismail Mahbob. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Ismail. Welcome, and firstly, thank you for making time to join me in this podcast. Let's start by you telling us a little bit about yourself in terms of how you ended up in insurance initially and then Takaful subsequently. I think you started your first job as a broker. That's a bit different from many of the people we've had in these podcasts.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Zainal. Well, I started insurance in 1977. All right. As working with a broking outfit, a small outfit in Johor Bahru, is a branch. Yeah. And I remembered the boss asked me to come to Kuala Lumpur to be trained, so that I can put more efforts and also contribute a lot to the company's branch operation. Unfortunately, after 1 year of training, he said, no, your place is not Johor Bahru. We send you to Kota Kinabalu. So in Kota Kinabalu, those were the days, things were so much different. Kota Kinabalu. After 1 year there, I was offered in Progressive Insurance to work there.
Progressive Insurance?
Yes, when the government of Sabah, through one of its GLC, take over this company. So I worked in Sabah. They promised me around 2 years, but unfortunately, it went to almost 8 years.
You were managing the company?
No, I was an executive there.
Oh, executive.
I was an executive there. And then promoted to branch manager. And of course, they sent me back because I said my children is growing up, so I want their education in Kuala Lumpur. So they transferred me to Kuala Lumpur with one condition. Every month, 3 weeks in Sabah. So that was the condition. Which until such I said, okay, enough is enough. So I was offered a job in American Insurance.
AMI.
Now I think it's the CIMB Group at that time.
CIMB Group now, yes.
Right. And assistant general manager there. And my job was to look after the branch operations. I think we have 8 or 9 branches at that time. I still travel, so I like traveling. Okay. Then after 2.5 years, I was offered to be a broker again. With a company called Malene Insurance Brokers to head the non-guest section, because Malene did a lot of guests.
Malene is a local brokerage.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And of course, they tie up with some Lloyd's brokers. Yeah. And in Malene, I really enjoy the work, travel, all that. Then I got an offer by Labuan Re to work in a reinsurance company.
What year was that, Labuan Re?
1996 was the offer. 1997 I started on the 1st of January. Yeah, so it's a Labuan-based company. And Labuan Re wanted me to develop new fresh markets. Not in Malaysia, neither in Southeast Asia. So they want me to develop Indian subcontinent markets, Middle East market, African markets. And the African market really interested me.
Yeah. Well, before you go into some detail in terms of your work in Labuan Re, by way of background, I think Labuan Re was established. How many years before you came in? 1993.
Thereabout, yes.
1993, and it's basically a consortium of shareholders. We had MNRB, yes, and then we had, I think Petronas was in there.
Petronas, yes.
MIC,
Telecom, all that.
And Telecom. So the idea of Labuan Re was basically to, first of all, to promote Labuan as a financial center. Right. But secondly, as well, to see whether we can retain more of the risks within Malaysia. Right. And Labuan is supposed to be an international offshore center. Right. But the regulations are not as sort of onerous as it is, on land. So basically, Labuan recruited you to expand its businesses in areas outside of the country.
Right.
All right. And Africa was the primary objective, was it?
Yes. In fact, Middle East and Africa was the primary objective. And of course, Indian subcontinent, you talk about Pakistan, Maldives, or Nepal, all that. So all that, I did some businesses there too.
Tell me about which country did you visit first? Remember?
It's 1 week after joining, I was brought to Bali, Indonesia. Okay, why? Because there is this little, not seminar, but more like a pre-conference discussion involving the head of the FAIR Group, the FAIR, which is
FAIR Group.
Federation of Asian and Insurer,
Insurer
and Insurers of Asia and Africa.
Yeah.
was just brought in with one condition: bring your golf set.
Bring your golf set.
So there, I started meeting people, and I was introduced. My CEO then was the late Cik Zulkifli Saleh. I thank him very much, for his trust in me. And then there on, you meet a few of the African representatives, Middle East representatives. Then that brings me that give me the chance to sort of work out on my own to visit these countries alone, connecting with these people, and they connect me with their people, their counterparts in the various countries.
Okay,
and that's how it all started. Yes,
that and golf.
Yeah. I asked what was the reason you recruit me from our checking up. You like to travel.
Yeah.
And you can play golf. That is the starting point, actually. Of course, the other thing is all you have to learn. Because I was never a reinsurer then,
But you were a broker. You were an insurance broker, though. You were not a reinsurance broker.
Not a reinsurance broker.
And your knowledge of insurance was not that deep at that point in time,
No.
But what's important, of course, is the fact that being a broker,
yes,
you have got the skill sets that allow you to interact with people.
I believe so.
And that was very useful.
Yes.
Being in a way, with Labuan Re, you are the ambassador of Labuan Re,
right?
And in a way, you are a semi-broker on that perspective,
right?
But yeah, okay. After Bali, which was the first country you set out for?
I couldn't remember after Bali, but definitely Indonesia was not my market.
Why was that?
Because we have another colleague named Richard Ho. He looks after the Indonesian market.
Okay.
And later on, after the 1998, riots, the fall of President Suharto, they asked me to look after the Indonesian market.
Okay.
So the reason why they took me strongly is because of the ability to travel alone, and I travel alone. And go into new market, new places alone, More a little bit adventurous part of me.
Okay.
So that's how Labuan Re engaged me. And then I started developing some connections and some networking with these people. And then we have this Retakaful comes into picture.
Okay, before that, what about, if you go to Africa,
right,
and then you talk to the insurers there, they do use a lot of reinsurance, and a lot of the insurance companies now.
Right.
It's global, right? It's not
right.
something. Reinsurance is one kind of business whereby you're not limited by the geography that you're in,
right,
because you need to actually have a very diversified portfolio.
Right.
Okay. So, but in order for you to get the business, you need to get their trust.
Right.
Labuan Re was not known outside of Malaysia.
Right.
So what are the challenges you had in terms of before you go to Retakaful? Because Retakaful is like one notch higher in terms of difficulty as compared to reinsurance. Right. How do you promote Labuan Re? They see you coming to to Nairobi, for example,
right,
and then you have to introduce yourself.
Right.
How would you introduce yourself? I'm Mr. X from Labuan Re. You say, where Labuan? Where Labuan?
Right. Okay. Of course, the networking when I established during the conferences and things like that, and also the chances given to me to talk in some of the conferences, which I did, and that helped me in promoting the company, Labuan Re. Number one. Number two, the fact that Labuan Re had a rating. It's A- by AM Best at that time. So that helps also. And number three is it's quite difficult for them to pronounce my name. So Ismail, so I said, okay, you can call me Ismail.
Ismail.
So they remember Ismail.
You smile. So you smile a lot. You can see.
So they remember Ismail, so they call me Ismail. And then because Labuan is starting to get popular with my promotion, so to speak, they call me Mr. Labuan.
So you are Mr. Labuan.
At that time, like certain parts of Africa. And the one who started was, I couldn't remember his name. He's a CEO of one reinsurance company in Kenya.
Yeah.
And he became a minister after that, Okay. So they call him Mr. Labuan.
Call that
branding.
Exactly. That branding,
branding,
is because of Labuan was because of your effort.
Yes.
Now, I think it's very important because you are dealing with a company that is outside of your own country.
Right.
The trust factor is very important, and the rating is important as well. A minus.
It helps. Yes.
What was the capital of Labuan Re at that point of time?
150 million
150 million US.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and that's quite significant then, isn't it?
The exchange rate was around 3.3, I think, around that time.
3.3 ringgit to 1 USD.
Right. So around 1 billion almost.
So, okay, Africa.
Yeah.
So, how was the African market? You find them receptive to us in Malaysia?
They are, but unfortunately, I have a very good underwriter, a strict underwriter, a lady named Mazia Ghazali, and she did underwriting for that market, and very strict, very conservative. This is where the rates there are very low. So we really pick and choose for those people that we want to do business.
Yeah.
You know, and our target was South African market. The South African market is very established market.
South Africa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with our rating, and also at that moment, we also involved with Lloyd's Syndicate, Labuan Re.
How were you involved with the Lloyd's Syndicate? You had equity or you had a partnership?
We had more like a working partnership, with the Chartered Syndicate at that time.
Chaucer, yes.
Chartered Syndicate.
Yeah.
And then when you entered such market like South Africa, which is a very established market, these two factors, rating plus our involvement with Lloyd's, not much questions were asked. So they give us
those were basically your calling card.
Yes,
you were rated A minus.
Right.
You are associated with a Lloyd's broker.
Right.
And that allowed you to get the business.
Yeah.
And then you had an underwriter who basically was quite conservative.
Conservative, yes.
Okay.
I even said to her, you only insure swimming pool against fire.
All right. That's a good example.
That's a good example of conservative. And there's this promotion on the company's level. For my level, of course, Mr. Labuan, I smile, and then I have my card has a picture of mine. Those were the days the card didn't carry picture. Nowadays you have a lot of pictures.
So you were the early adopters.
One of the early adopters, so it's easy.
Okay, remember you with the photo.
Yeah. When they look at me, they say I'm a Japanese. So when they look, okay, your name is not Japanese.
Come you think of it, you do look a bit Japanese.
That's what they said.
Anyway, so that was good. So for a couple of years, you were just purely doing reinsurance.
Right.
And then they say, oh, let's start Retakaful. Because at that point in time, I think Ariel was just about to wind down. And
Yes.
Ariel was one of the first Retakaful operators.
Right.
And it was based in Labuan.
Right.
So basically, Labuan Re sort of took up the mantle and started a Retakaful window within Labuan Re itself.
Right.
So how did Labuan came to that decision? It was they said that there was a potential market here, and
I think here we look at it this way. Let's touch a little bit of the Takaful as I saw it in the initial part.
Takaful as it is.
As I saw it
As
at that time.
Yeah.
Because the way I look at it, the first stage of Takaful is more like a religious product. And the main target was the Muslims who don't take insurance.
Okay.
So that was the market. Then secondly, I can see is a trend to go into Takaful. People like me, who sort of people who have insurance already, that you change to Takaful.
Yeah.
You know,
So it's like switching. You like
Switching.
So not new business, but more like switching.
Fashion.
I would like fashion.
I call it more like a trend. It's more like you change your shirt to something more with color button and all that.
Okay.
Okay. And I look at it also from the company angle, from a marketing angle, as a more like a differentiating product.
Okay.
Okay. Well, and finally, the fourth stage, which I would say, is Takaful being accepted as a Islamic insurance company, and that is the fourth stage, the way I look at it. And I would say the fifth stage is the fourth stage is a solution to the people on the street. These are the personal lines businesses. And the fifth stage is, I said, until today, we are not able to satisfy the corporate ummah.
Okay.
So we are writing only the
Personal lines.
lines, the low sum insured, the D&A of the personal lines, the small sum insured, all that.
No, we can discuss that a bit later on. But I think from the perspective of the mandate that was given to you, look, we see Takaful growing globally.
Right.
And then there's lots of Muslims in the Middle East, of course, and of course in Africa as well. Quite a significant number of Muslims there. So go out there and see whether you can get business from the new nascent, if you like, Takaful operators there. Were there a lot of, first of all, in terms of Takaful operators, secondly, in terms of competitors in that region? Maybe you can give us some perspective in terms of what was the market then?
At that time, Retakaful didn't exist, so to speak.
In Africa itself?
The fact that I would consider myself as the ambassador, not only on Labuan Re as a company for conventional, but Labuan Re also as a Retakaful operator.
Yeah.
So you meet the same people and you start talking to a few people, and a lot of people who are interested to go into something like Retakaful or Takaful for that matter, whereby they ask you for some advices, which you gave, just the formation of a Takaful company. So for instance, we have one in Kenya. I think I forgot the name. I think it's Takaful Africa.
Takaful Africa, yeah.
And I salute the promoter, Mr. Hassan Bashir.
Hassan Bashir, yes.
Hassan Bashir. He's quite popular in that market.
He's well known.
Well known, yeah. And then, of course, you meet the Egyptian, but they don't have any Takaful company. But they want to know more about it. And I went to countries like Algeria, Tunisia, all that. They ask you about all that. And then you went into the Middle East market.
So you doing both. You were doing actually reinsurance and also Retakaful.
Right, both.
Yeah.
So which one you choose? I have both. So that same thing with like you go to Pakistan or that. Pakistan already had one Takaful company there.
Yeah.
And Sri Lanka they have. Also this company basically started by Malaysian also.
Yeah.
All right. So that helps. That helps.
Yeah. So okay. So in terms of what you offer them, was it just Retakaful, or do you also offer them some kind of assistance as well? Because I don't think Labuan Re had much of a department for Takaful per se. And I mean, from my experience, in terms of many of these places overseas, they're always looking for expertise.
Right.
In the particular in Takaful's world, which was quite lacking at that point of time. Right. So did you also get those kind of requests, and were you able to?
Yes.
How do you manage those kind of requests?
Before they ask, we open the route for them. Yeah. They say, okay, why don't we bring you? Why don't we give people who can talk to you? These are specialists. So we were the ones who started rather than they requested. Okay. So what we did was a couple of friends in the Islamic finance circle, also in the Takaful industry. Mr. Ismail, Mr. Tarmizi, all that.
Ismail, of course.
So
Tarmizi.
they call, and they have this. When training, we call some of these people.
Yeah.
So, and I only open the remark.
Open the door. Yeah.
Open the door, and these people are the very technical people.
Yeah. So in a way, you're not just Mr. Labuan at that point in time. You were also in a way Mr. Takaful of Africa. But going back to in terms of your experience in the Middle East and in Africa, I mean, apart from the fact that you had the rating and you also had basically the important thing is rating, and effectively that was very important, and that's called the association with Lloyd's broker.
Right.
What about recognition as a Malaysian? Do you find that is something that people know about Malaysia as you go and because sometimes you go to certain places and say Malaysia, where's Malaysia? I don't know what. Show me what. I know Singapore, but where's Malaysia?
Interestingly, the first question, where is Malaysia, came from a US guy when I was in the US.
When you was in the US,
yes.
Okay.
But that was years. That was later, of course. Before that. But at that time, our Prime Minister, Tun Mahathir, I think he was not Tun then. Dr. Mahathir is very popular among the third world countries, and especially in Africa. All right? And that helps a lot. When they ask me, are you Japanese? I say no. Are you Chinese? I say no. And are you a Korean? I said no. Then what are you? Not who are you? What are you?
What are you?
I said, I'm a Malaysian. Dr. Mahathir, Mr. Mahathir. That helps a lot in doing business there. So I salute Dr. Mahathir for that. He helps a lot. The name helps a lot. And the fact that when we open a branch in Bahrain, I smell that there is some people coming from Malaysia to visit some countries, that area. And Dr. Mahathir is going to was the one to hit that mission. All right? So I managed to get the office to agree to get Dr.
The
Mahathir,
Prime Minister's office to
the
agree.
Prime Minister's office, to agree for him to launch our branch in Bahrain. If I'm not mistaken, somebody told me we are the second company in Malaysian company operating in Bahrain.
Okay.
Okay.
That was Bahrain.
That was in Bahrain. We opened Bahrain.
So you had a Labuan branch in Bahrain at
Right.
that point of
But
time.
Dubai was not that established at that time.
Okay.
So Bahrain is more established as a tax haven.
At that point of time.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's how we opened Bahrain.
So okay. So in terms now we can go back in terms of what type of takaful was actually available, and therefore because you as a Retakaful operator, you got your so-called mission, as it were, to assist in terms of spreading the risk, because Retakaful is, people tend to equate Retakaful reinsurance from the perspective that when you take reinsurance, you're actually reinsuring the insurance company, i.e. the shareholders, if you like.
Right.
And they sometimes also confuse that with Retakaful, is that Retakaful is actually insuring the takaful operators.
Right.
But effectively, that's not the case. It's basically the Retakaful fund taking on or sharing their risks, or sharing the risk of the takaful fund.
Right.
So it's fund to fund, as it were, which is different from insurance. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that in terms of the business or the risks, if you like, that was predominantly takaful in those regions. You mentioned it was more in terms of commercial lines. Was that the case all the way through in your experience in those days?
No, I think not commercial lines. It's basically a straightforward treaty Retakaful. Treaty Retakaful, surplus
Personal
and
lines,
so forth, personal lines, things like that.
Sorry, I'm talking about personal lines. Primarily personal lines, kan?
But primarily personal lines, because the big ones, most of these third world countries, they don't have much of this large and specialized risk and commercial risk. Okay, so, and Retakaful being new, we feel that we cannot do much with these people, the writing of big risk. Okay,
Yeah.
there are some countries like like Sudan, all that, they do write because the risk available in the country, but they prefer to place in the Lloyd's market, things like that, in the other markets which are more established. Because you're talking about the decision making for big risk is different, multi-tiered and time consuming. It's not like personal lines where it is just like that, and you got the business. So not on commercial lines. There's multi-tiered, there'll be multi-level discussion, multi-level negotiation, things like that. And of course, the brokers come into picture.
But you in terms of this risk, you were not basically the leader, was it? You were more in terms of just a follower.
Follow, yes.
Primarily, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
Because when there is a takaful program, Retakaful program, yes, we do bid for some leadership, yes, which we get, but more like the smaller ones, because the capacity is not that big,
Okay.
So for the others, we just follow.
So who were your competitors, for example, in the Middle East?
In the Middle East, we have Eric at that time, which is Takaful Re. Takaful is no more there. And then you have the Emirates Re, which is already no more there. And Kuwait Re is still in existence. And of course, Saudi Re later on. These are those are the names that I can remember those timelines.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned two names there. Arik and Takaful Re. Retakaful. Arik is basically Arab Retakaful.
No, Reinsurance Group.
Arab
it is a
Reinsurance Group.
Yes.
And Takaful, Retakaful?
Takaful, they call it Takaful Re.
Takaful Re.
Takaful Re is actually owned by Eric.
Arik, okay.
All right.
So they're no longer around, basically.
They're no more around,
So,
yes.
you hear these stories whereby, people start up Retakaful, and then down the road, they basically sort of stop business.
Right.
Well, what do you think was the reason why the Retakaful operators found it difficult to find traction in terms of this particular field? What do you think was the primary reason for that?
I think the main reason is the financial part of it. Let's see, for instance, like the capital requirement by the regulator can be high. I think Malaysia at that time was 100 million, I think. And we are not sure whether we can sort of give back something to the capital.
To the shareholders, in terms of return.
Yeah, the returns to the shareholders. We're not sure, but we because our income is from Wakalah fee only.
Wakalah fee only,
and we don't have the expertise to do value-added services that bring more money. No, we don't have that, It's basically just typical reinsurance underwriting or Retakaful underwriting.
Yeah.
So the income is not much. Secondly, the market is very limited. Okay, and another thing is the people factor, which I would put the people factor here is the mindset of these people who operate are basically all conventional mindset because they are all from conventional side. So that somehow gives me the chance trying to be different. So I went into this what I call a Chartered Islamic Finance course. Yeah, in INCEIF. INCEIF just started it. At that time was Dato' Agilnat was the principal. Yeah, and with that I know a little bit of Islamic finance in general. So that helps when you talk to people, which compared to other people in other Retakaful operators, most of them don't know. The Malaysian base, yes, you have a few know a lot about Islamic finance, but when you go to outside market, technically zero. So that alone, the mindset is very conventional. And to talk about Retakaful and talk about the Sharia compliance supply chain, that takes time for people to absorb. And that is the top. Then going to the middle management and so on, that is tougher. That's tougher. Because the conventional mindset is was too strong then.
Yeah, let's just discuss that a bit. Because I think you mentioned earlier that one of the issues you face when you go into the Middle East, when you go to the African market, is that the rates are too low.
Right.
I.e., maybe there was over competition, if you like, even at the primary level, at the insurance level per se. And then when Takaful operators started their business, yes, it's Sharia compliant, but human being human, I want my cake and eat it as well. I want it to be just as cheap or cheaper than conventional,
right?
And I want it to be Sharia compliant.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So you as a Retakaful operator, you, if you like, would be on top of that. But of course, the Takaful company will not be able to pay or give you the Retakaful contribution, which is more than what they actually receive. It does not make sense, is it?
Right.
So right at the beginning already, you are at a disadvantage because effectively, you're going to market which is very competitive, whereby the mindset is conventional, all right, and then the rates that you can take, are not really, no significant margin, if any, all right. And yes, we stick to personal line because effectively the large specialized risk is very volatile, and you don't have the pool to absorb this kind of risk, But the issue here is the fact that you are actually offering as well surplus sharing, being a Retakaful kind of operation. So going on that, you can understand why many or few Retakaful operators close shop.
Right.
But they just couldn't actually survive in this kind of environment.
Right.
And it is a catch-22 situation whereby if you don't have Retakaful operators, you cannot have Takaful operators.
Right.
Because especially if Takaful operators are very new, and they don't have the pool. Because Takaful is about surplus share, it's about pooling a risk. And pooling a risk means you must have more than one insured, as it were.
Right.
So do you think that was the reason why Retakaful operators in that region basically many of them did not survive? It was primarily the fact that, the market was very much thinking conventional insurance, which is Sharia compliant, rather than anything new. Because you mentioned earlier that, you brought something new. You had insurance, you had Takaful, but you also said that, this is insurance, this is Takaful, same price, you see. And then you think about it, you can't really have the same price per se, but that was what was required in order to go into the market. Now, I mean, do you speak to your competitors in that market with Arik for example, what was the conversation like? What was the perception, if you like, in terms of the market?
If you talk about rating,
Yeah.
they look at Malaysia as a better market than theirs. Why? Because we have tariff.
Okay, so no, you're looking at the Retakaful operators.
The rating is high. I mean, the rating, the premium rating or the contribution rating is high. So that's good for them to bring up the mass, so to speak, the pool. Compared to other markets, the rates are very low. Okay. So, and we go into the low market. They go to the high market, which is our market.
So what you're trying to say is that, and then this is something which I think we are fortunate that because our Takaful industry, if you like, has been guided, if you like, by regulators who understand Takaful.
Right.
And also by the fact that the government is very supportive of Islamic finance, and also initially we had the tariff market, so therefore the level of pressure on rates was not there.
Right.
We had the fire tariff, we had the motor tariff, and these are the two major kinds of on the general side, as it were, a major kind of business. So yes, I mean, if the Takaful operators have good business in terms of margins, and then the Retakaful operators will also have a better kind of opportunity, to actually build their business on a profitable manner. So people were looking at the Retakaful operators were looking at Malaysia as a good market. You've got the market already to some extent. You're going overseas onto unregulated markets, very competitive, mindset still very much conventional, and it was difficult, to say the least.
Yes, very difficult.
So was the business that you were writing generating surplus? You might ask.
Sorry, what is it?
Was the business that you were writing in Africa, was it generating surpluses? Or was it like you had to pump in card and it was not actually very...
If I recall, you start talking about card, day one you have to extend card already. By virtue of you have to buy your retro.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So when you buy your retro, you start having cut from the shareholders' fund because you don't have a single cent business yet. So that's from day one. That is already shows that's sort of the first impact on the card. And then after that, when you got businesses from these people, of course it takes time for them to turn. But I think luckily we are not. If I recall well, we don't face much catastrophic losses, things like that at that time.
So you were very careful in the businesses selected, personal lines basically.
Yeah, personal lines business, all that, So,
but let me talk about retro. I mean, this is something as well that maybe people who are not in the reinsurance industry might not appreciate. Is the fact that you got reinsurers of reinsurers,
right?
And these are the retro that you mentioned, and maybe it could be Lloyd's brokers, through Lloyd's brokers, if you like the Lloyd's market. These are conventional though; they're not actually Sharia compliant, isn't it?
Yeah, they are conventional.
So Sharia basically has given you the dispensation, to use conventional retrocessionaries.
Right.
And these companies, they do have higher standards. They do have high rates which they think is appropriate. And sometimes these rates are actually higher than what you get from the direct writers. So, but you still wrote it, is it? Even though it was not really...
Okay, you're talking about the retro
side? Yeah.
Okay.
The retro is higher rates than the premiums that you're receiving.
We were very much guided by our Sharia Advisory Board. And this one I have to salute, now I think Tan Sri, dulu Dato' Bakar Daud.
Bakar Daud, yeah.
Now I think it's Tan Sri Bakar Daud. Another person is... remember Dato' Syed Osman Al-Habshi?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So he's a real practitioner of Islamic finance in general. And these two people give me a lot of sort of guidance. And of course, we use the word darurah at that time.
Darurah, yeah.
So it is look into it as a darurah situation.
Yeah.
For the survival of the company.
Yeah.
And then the supply chain, I would say the Sharia compliant supply chain to stop where we were.
Yeah.
And to go into retro, we have to go into the conventional market. So that's where the darurah factor came into the picture.
Okay, so that's a very important point. The fact that the capacity of the Retakaful operators at that point in time was pretty limited.
Very, very limited.
Because although you got Labuan Re, so you got 150 million USD in terms of your capital, and you do reinsurance.
Right.
But then when you start Retakaful, you have to have a separate pool. You
Yes.
cannot mix it up with the conventional pool.
Right.
It's a window, so you do save on expenses.
Right.
But still, it's a new pool, and therefore there's not much in terms of contribution in there, not much in terms of spread. So you're very much dependent on retro. Do you find was it difficult to so-called educate the Sharia scholars about the difficulties in getting retro, which is Sharia compliant?
I think it's not difficult because they are very open-minded people, which I like. That's number one.
Well, is that because they're Malaysians or because of the fact that...
Yeah, I think they are used to the Malaysian sort of culture and things like that, discussion style, all that.
Yeah.
I think we explained to them very well why we need such cover
Yeah.
and so on, and how we actually operate.
Yeah.
You draw a diagram and say this is how the whole ecosystem of the Indonesian industry works out.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that makes them understand. And that's also the beginning point of Takaful and Takaful in many parts of the world too. So this is where the open-mindedness came very important. And this is where they guided us as per what we say, these are what our business is all about.
Don't you just, because you're unique in the sense that you are exposed to many markets, and I just want to select one or two markets and see whether to tap your knowledge, if you were, in terms of the nature of the takaful in that particular market. So I want to talk about Indonesia, right? Our cousins across the Straits of Malacca. I mean, what's the difference between the takaful market in Malaysia and the takaful market in Indonesia? Because we have to appreciate the fact that retakaful can only be successful if takaful is successful.
Right.
Takaful needs retakaful, right? So there's this is which comes first, retakaful operator or takaful operator. But certainly, risk sharing requires a pool which is of sufficient size to actually make ensure that it works. So Indonesia is a market of 244 million people, of which 87% are Muslims, right? Do you have any stories to tell about the development of takaful in Indonesia?
I put it in the general form first. In fact, Malaysia is a very well regulated market.
Yeah.
So this is where you have to salute Bank Negara for putting all the rules and regulations and for us to follow. I like to give this example to a lot of my friends in the overseas when I explain to them. It's just like you play football and then the Bank Negara say, okay, you must have 11 players playing with one ball, 11 players, and you have the size of the, so on and so forth. All
Size of
that,
the pitch,
size of the field and so on and so forth.
all the rules are out there, laid out.
All the rules are there. But other countries, no. So other countries, like, okay, for us here, we don't allow the operation of windows for takaful companies, right? But other countries, no, you can do. And you follow the rules of the conventional. So that somehow stifles their growth and also their thinking. So for Malaysia, we develop our thinking and it doesn't stifle our growth. In fact, we expand. So for Indonesia, the fact that any company can open a window. So you have a lot of big companies in Indonesia, big insurance companies, they just open a window with one person running around, So with that, the growth is not that strong because you're going to end up with one person talking to everybody, hey, you should do like this, you should do like that. It's a very tough job for that guy.
Within the company itself.
Within the company itself.
Yeah.
Okay? And then you have to talk, first to your own staff, then you have to talk to the clients, to explain to the clients. So for the clients who are Muslim, maybe they understand a little bit. But most of them are not. And number three, they also have, like for the personal lines of Malaysia, we have like road tax, which is important, right, to be on the road. But insurance must be behind road tax. But most countries, no need insurance. So a lot of the vehicles on the road have no insurance. So for us, with that insurance, that a lot will bring the masses.
The critical size.
The critical size.
Because there's compulsory insurance, there's therefore compulsory takaful. And then brought in, if you like, the volume of business, because people forget, takaful is about risk sharing, and therefore risk sharing, the bigger the pool, the more likely it's going to be successful. Right? So Malaysia is successful to some extent because of the fact that We had compulsory insurance, therefore slash Retakaful.
Right.
We had tariffs,
Right,
basically
yeah.
initially anyway, which means that rates are reasonable. And in Takaful, because of surplus sharing, we can adjust the rate subsequently if it needs to be, i.e. through surplus sharing. And from that perspective, Malaysia is able to grow its business. But you look into other markets, and here we're talking about Indonesia, the business itself is not guaranteed, because guaranteed from the perspective the volume might not be there, even though you got 244 million people. But if insurance is not compulsory, or some insurance is not compulsory, and therefore there is basically very much dependence, if you like, in terms of selling the product.
Yes.
And then selling the product is going to be difficult if you have a window with just one person basically running the show, and he has a double job of actually managing the company to think about Takaful, and now managing the agents to think about Takaful, and educating the agents how to sell Takaful to the masses. So from that perspective, very difficult. So but then Indonesia, I think there is, I think, I guess semangat, the Malay word is the drive. I think they do have that sort of what's the word for it? Do you think in English, the semangat, spirit, yeah, and there's the spirit in terms of this is something that we want. It's just that I guess they have not yet been able to put together the kind of right model to make it a success. Did you any comments on that in terms of Indonesia?
I think another issue you have to look at is also the thinking part of the Sharia people.
The Sharia
people,
perspective. Okay, that's good.
Perspective.
Yeah.
So I take an example. In the beginning part, we have risk that has a little bit of non-halal activity.
Okay.
Example, aircraft. Example, hotel.
Aircraft because they serve liquor.
Because they serve liquor. Hotel because they have discos, things like that, which is non-Islamic, things like that.
Yeah.
So the thinking at that moment of time was, no. When you have this, no.
You cannot associate yourself with this kind of establishment.
Right. So that brought the sort of the argument in me, telling them, listen, even your body is not 100% perfect. You have najis in your body.
You have najis in your body.
Yeah, that's why. So I bring out that type of argument,
Yeah.
And I think some of those people at that time believe what I said.
Okay.
And finally, things started to open up a little bit. Even in Malaysia, Takaful companies are not supposed to take facultative business.
Takaful operator.
Takaful companies.
Takaful companies.
Yes, I remember in one session.
Oh, okay. Now from conventional companies.
So I put up an argument with these people. I think after that everybody started writing. So I don't know whether my argument is strong enough to convince the operator and also the regulator. But I knew things have happened that way after that.
Yeah. I think, I mean, if we go back to this Takaful model per se, there is surplus sharing, and the fact that you need to have a pool of risks, right? Is a very difficult kind of. You want surplus sharing, but in order to get surplus sharing, you want to have a risk sharing. But in order to get risk sharing, you must have the pool, and you have a big pool. So facultative sort of arrangement with conventional insurers is one way to increase the size of the pool.
That's right.
As long as the risk is okay.
It's okay.
But facultative, you are looking at, you're going direct to the risk.
Right.
So the conventional company basically is just, in a way, like a broker.
Right.
All right. As long as the risk itself is okay. I mean, of course, we cannot be insuring breweries. We cannot be insuring, certain kind of risks. That's for sure.
Right.
But you mentioned that certain risks. There's a small amount of non-Sharia compliant. The income from that business might not be very big. So as long as you accept that, your Sharia accept that could also be another market. So all this is effectively something that you want to have for the purpose of building the pool.
Right.
All right. So that the pool of risk is bigger, so that the law on large numbers will work, and then you are able to at least start the engine, if you like.
Okay.
In terms of we can now start the engine. We can have Takaful, and then hopefully later on, make it bigger. And then as we grow, we can actually now pull back. Now that we have got the market recognition, now we've got the Retakaful support. We can be on our own. So it's a case of how do you start, and whether we can actually be able to build our own sort of credibility, if you like, as we go along. Because 40 years in Malaysia, I mean, maybe now I'd like to ask your opinion in terms of the market in Malaysia, in terms of the Takaful market. What do you think is how have we progressed over 40 years? You're not that way. You're not a director of one of the major of Takaful Malaysia, and Takaful Malaysia was the first Takaful company in Malaysia. Right. You're the chairman of that company, basically.
Okay.
How do you see the market now?
I feel the market is plateauing, and then the fact that my company has been clocking double-digit growth every year for the past, I think, 4 or 5 years. So we were formed in 2018, the Takaful Am.
But then we just split the license from composite to basically 2 separate companies.
Right. 2018 is where we are on our own. Okay? And we have been clocking double-digit growth by virtue of our small base. But of course, the base gets bigger and bigger. And I think now the situation has gone into a situation whereby if you look at the insurance growth and the Takaful growth, the percentage is lower compared to our growth. So there is an element of cannibalization there already. I mean, that's my thinking. Yeah. That's number one. Number two, there is no fresh risk that come out in a big way. So there will be competition going to be tougher within the Takaful and insurance industry going forward. Yeah. But insurance industry has bigger pool by which they can write the large and specialized risk and commercial risk, which Takaful is a little bit sort of stifled there. So this is one area whereby going forward, I think we should go into this market.
Well, large and specialized
risk market. And this is where we start questioning the basic. Is our model workable or not?
The basic Takaful model.
The basic Takaful model, because we have been living with it for the past 40 years.
The Wakala model.
You should be asking question. Okay? As long as it is within the Islamic transaction principle, you can apply. You are not going against Sharia there, but you are applying a different model there. So this is where I always talk to the Sharia fraternity, why don't you all started it? We can give you all the information, but you develop them. We can give all the commercial factors, the financial factors, so on and so forth, but how we can come up with it, with a new model. It can be a combination of one, just like a hybrid. So hybrid was actually part of the evolution of Takaful. Otherwise, it was just straightforward Mudarabah. Then now become Mudarabah and Wakala.
And we can talk a lot about that, but the point that you're trying to make here is that you think that as far as the growth, at least in Malaysia is concerned, we are coming to a plateau now.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And if we do not go into new risks, we'll find it very difficult to maintain our current growth rate going forward. And you are saying that one of the issues is the fact that large and specialized risks, the volatility is much higher. And therefore, it makes it difficult to have this risk-sharing concept to be workable going forward. The interesting point, but I miss one aspect of a couple of aspects in your growth before we go back to that question. And the fact that after Labuan Re, you left Labuan Re. What year did you leave Labuan Re?
I retired in Labuan Re.
Okay. It's 55.
55. So when that was in 2006. Then they extended my contract, but in between, MNRB was thinking of developing the Takaful company on its own.
So there's onshore. Labuan Re was offshore. MNRB, of course, is our national reinsurance company, general side.
Right.
So they wanted to set up a Retakaful operation. So this is like Life and General together again.
Yes, Life and General together. And I'm a general man. I don't know anything about Life, Takaful or Takaful for that matter. So I headed the company. And so that my experience in Labuan Re helps me when I meet the same people in the market, but now more on my own, So that helps in terms of the marketing part of it,
Were there challenges different for MNRB than with Labuan Re? I mean, the market was it different? I mean, Labuan Re was looking like very far ahead, very far offshore, if you like, to Africa and the likes. For MNRB, Retakaful, was it sort of just looking like closer to home, or?
Okay, when as a window of Labuan Re, you sort of
Initially you were not window, kan? Initially you were standalone, I think.
you went in Labuan Re.
No. Sorry, yeah, Labuan Re you were window, yeah.
Window. So when in Labuan Re,
Yeah.
you sort of fall back to your main
father.
house, which
Yeah.
is your main house, which is Labuan Re itself.
Yeah.
When MNRB Retakaful, then you fall back to Malaysian Re Group. Okay, Malaysian Re Group also rated, so that helps a lot.
Okay.
So that helps a lot. So I meet the same people again, talking the same thing, but in a new sort of a new way, in the sense that things have evolved to a little bit more advanced stage. So you're talking, your starting point is a bit on the advanced scale compared to Labuan Re, which is totally from zero base, you know.
So you were better. You already had your name there already. So you were able to help the startup to get recognition.
Yes.
So you were getting the same kind of business in MNRB, Retakaful,
Yes,
as you were at Labuan Re?
Yeah, basically yes, the same type of business, except now the group has sort of double the amount of premium, so to speak. Because some go to Labuan Re Retakaful division, some go to MNRB Retakaful. So that, as a group, it helps.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It's the fact that MNRB also have got equity in Labuan Re.
Yes.
So in a way, you move to your uncle's place, if you like.
Your grandpa.
Your grandpa.
Become the favorite cucu.
Okay. All right. So basically now you got two players within the group. You got Labuan Re window, Retakaful, and you got MNRB, basically Retakaful. And so you were able to actually double it. So which sort of implies that, you can increase your business by just setting up more companies, which doesn't quite add up, I thought. Why did we able to get more business?
Yes, because whenever the residents want to place business, they go first to the Retakaful companies. And who are the Retakaful companies? And then after that, those who have windows. And then you have companies who also have windows. I mean, not Malaysian company, but overseas company. So now the placement to the Retakaful sector, to the Retakaful companies are more. So you put, Malaysia has two now. You have Labuan Re, Retakaful, and you have the MNRB Retakaful. So technically, they can give to both. So that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. I get what you mean. You're saying that effectively, they're also trying to diversify their risks.
Right.
So instead of giving all their business, or they have limitation in terms of what you can do to give to one company. Now there's two companies, therefore they can actually, Malaysia as Malaysia Inc. Now is able to get double what one company was supposed to get.
Just take an example like Bank Negara. Now, first priority list will be number one, Retakaful company based in Kuala Lumpur.
Yes.
Then go to Labuan.
Yeah.
Then of course those Labuan, then the same thing happened here. You cannot place 100% with all the Malaysian companies available. So you go to Labuan, then only you go overseas. That's how a lot of companies start setting up in Labuan.
Okay.
To take advantage of the Malaysian market, so to speak.
So Malaysian market, if you like, is a very important market globally for Islamic finance and / Takaful.
Right.
I think also Malaysian market in terms of Takaful benefited from the perspective from the fact that we are also growing our Islamic finance sector.
Right.
Without, so you need both.
Right.
You cannot grow Takaful without Islamic finance, and Islamic finance needs Takaful. So you need to have a holistic approach. As far as Takaful is concerned, it has to be part of the move towards Islamic finance. It cannot be in isolation to that, as it were.
If I can add to that, if you recall in 2008, where the Asian financial crisis, and most of the Islamic banks were not that affected. Sorry, 2008. 2008 was it?
2008, 2009.
The subprime is what year?
Subprime, I mean, there's the CDS, no? That was 2008.
Around
they call it the
too.
global financial crisis.
Okay.
They don't call it the global recession. It was a financial crisis.
So we call it Asian financial crisis. They call it subprime. You remember?
Asian financial crisis was earlier, 1997, kan? 1978.
Okay, all right. Okay.
That was the Asian financial crisis. That's why Indonesia, Thailand got into trouble with it.
Yeah, okay. So 2008 is more like the subprime. during the subprime problem,
Yeah.
the Islamic finance will not that be back.
They buy in CDS lah. CDS is not Sharia compliant.
Okay. So not that
Much affected.
Okay. Then you can see the impact to the financial world, whether we realize or not. Ijarah start being important because even aircraft now being bought using ijarah, which is a Islamic finance instrument.
Yeah.
Then you see sukuk start coming out.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Yeah.
Okay, so that somehow the acceptance of the conventional world to the Islamic finance mechanism of ijarah and sukuk, and there are more. So Retakaful should take advantage of that, or Takaful should take advantage of that, because when you talk about sukuk, you talk about ijarah of this such people, it's always the big risk.
Yeah.
So we are the low-lying fruits. Only that we are not prepared.
At that point in time, we're not prepared.
Yes,
We
even
could not-
now also we are not prepared.
Yeah.
Even now our Takaful operators are still not that prepared.
Yeah. Just to share an anecdote, I mean, during the global financial crisis, you know what happened to interest rates? Kan? Interest rates dropped to 0%.
Okay.
So one prominent banker in Malaysia said, effectively, you have a situation whereby the global financial market now become Islamic because they charge 0% interest.
Laki nak apa? Minus
Minus Japanese. Japan is minus. Switzerland was minus as well. So yeah, I mean the point is that Islamic banks not much affected during the global financial crisis.
Yes.
That shows the resilience of the Islamic finance market. So it's a test, to be like that. Yeah, we passed that test. And then the fact that we as Takaful operators, we as people move to Islamic financing for the big purchases, in terms of leasing, ijarah, then we were not prepared to provide the kind of cover.
Yeah.
So because there was an opportunity, as it were.
Opportunity lost.
Opportunity lost.
Until now, it is still lost.
It's still lost. And it goes back to what you said just now. Do we need to rethink our model?
Right.
But again, that is a very sensitive topic and very.
No, you shouldn't be look at it as. It should be sensational rather than sensitive. It should be a sensational topic the way I look at it. Because let's put our heads together again.
Yeah.
Those days, the Syarikat fraternity doesn't know anything much about commercial takaful. Then they learn for 40 years. They learn. And then they're being taught in university the commercial part of takaful and other Islamic finance. Now people are more clever, so now bring in new ideas and how to. As long as don't kata orang tu don't go away from the syariah part.
Yeah.
So, and you are guided by syariah part.
Yeah. But I mean, that point about Sharia, you do interact with Sharia scholars overseas, kan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you do interact, of course, with Sharia scholars in Malaysia.
Right.
What is your perception in terms of the way in which they approach Sharia issues, Malaysia vis-a-vis, outside Malaysia?
I can only say it when I talk to these people. You tend to just listen and say okay.
But the one overseas?
But overseas, though inside your head, you say no lah. We in Malaysia we do it this way. I'm sorry to say this, but as one example, a group of Islamic board directors are talking about zakat.
Zakat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I told them, in Malaysia we have a couple of formulas to pay zakat. Okay. They say no, there are any money that goes into their bank, zakat is payable. Meaning that you put your paid up capital, zakat even though you haven't done a single day business. So I said, no, he said, who? Who told you all this? I said, we have our syarikat, we have our fatwa, all that. You know what I said?
Yeah.
Your fatwa bring you to hell. So now you can see the mentality of certain people, certain Muslim, some countries that you have to face. Okay. That is very sensitive. To me, it is sensational. So you can bring to something new ideas.
Okay. No, I mean, just with that thought. So what you're saying is that, from your perspective, there can be significant differences of opinion between Sharia scholars,
Right.
who are educated. Well, actually, even our Sharia scholars, even though they're Malaysians, they be educated at distinguished Islamic universities overseas, Al Azhar and Madinah, and the likes. But I guess maybe the Sharia scholars in Malaysia, they are more exposed to to the conventional world, and maybe also in terms of how business is done, and maybe that give them the perspective, which is a bit different from Sharia scholars in other countries, where the exposure to commercial kind of businesses is limited. So theirs perhaps is a bit more in terms of by the book, as it were. And the problem by the book is the fact that, our religion is 1,400 years old. Well, it's older than that, but in terms of Islam establishment, 1,400 years. And during that period of time, we did not have the kind of businesses we currently have.
Right.
And therefore, the interpretation of the application of Sharia law, as it were, to the existing, the current kind of market, could be different. Right? So that you think is one reason why in some markets, maybe Takaful and Islamic finance is not actually growing as it is in Malaysia. Would that be a fair comment?
It is a very fair comment, because I feel that our approach is totally holistic.
In Malaysia?
Yes. The regulator and also some of these associations or whatever, the operators association, things like that, involving Islamic finance, all holistic. And we will even have our own Islamic institution like INCEIF, Islamic financial institution like INCEIF. So we have the feeder, the feeder sort of group to give information, to teach and to educate the future people. So we are quite, like I said, holistic compared to other countries, which I don't think so.
But I mean, you said you went to, when was the period that you were in INCEIF? Was it between Labuan Re and Malaysian MNRB?
Can I tell a story there?
Yeah, please, yeah.
I was one of the first or the second batch in INCEIF for CIF.
For CIF is what? What's CIF?
Chartered Institute of Islamic Finance, something
Chartered
like that.
Institute
of Islamic Finance.
Of Islamic Finance, okay.
And when I went to the school, first I went through all the exams, and during the convocation, as I walked towards the, the podium, is it called podium? Stage.
Yeah, stage, yeah.
Tan Sri Zati was smiling.
Tan Sri Zati was the governor at that point of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And beside him was the principal, which is Datuk Agil Nat.
Agil Nat, yeah.
And I smiled, okay. So I took my score, I went down. A few minutes later, Datuk Agil Nat came and saw me. Ismail, you know why Tan Sri Zati is
smiling at you?
I said, I don't know. I told him, you are the first CEO to qualify. So what I said here means I try to put much effort to know more about Islamic finance and take exam, real exam, and not not like a casual education.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't think many people at that time took.
Yeah.
But I encourage a lot of my friends to do that, and which I make sure that some of my staff do that too. Whether they qualify or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the point that you're trying to make is that, first of all, many of the participants in Takaful, let's say, they come from the conventional side,
right?
Education system, and the initial experience, maybe in insurance companies, and they learn Takaful in the process of doing their work.
Right.
So which means that, the process of learning to some extent is ad hoc, and perhaps as well, whatever they learn may not be so-called appropriate. Right? So the perspective could be different. So what INCEIF, what is it called? INCEIF. What does it stand? International
Center for Education Islamic Finance.
Okay, International Center for Education Islamic Finance. What institutions does INCEIF does? It actually has a formalized kind of education system.
Yes.
Whereby it teaches you from the basic and to the end, as it were, how things work, and because of the fact that it's through an sort of a structured kind of approach, as it were, you get the real deal. You understand the issues, as it were, right? So that, in a way, allows you to come up with perhaps, if people were to go through this process, even though they're already CEOs, they've got lots of experience at Takaful, you still took the effort to actually go through this process. You are able to solidify your understanding and perhaps even correct some of the things that you believe in the past to something more, which is more, I guess, acceptable. I'm not sure acceptable is the right word for it. Maybe more mainstream, perhaps, is the right word for it. Yeah. So you encourage people to do that.
Right.
Doesn't matter where you are, how old you are, but go through this process so that you can actually appreciate the. I guess going back to your word holistic, you know, because Islamic finance, the course you go through is not about takaful kan only kan. What does it cover? What does it cover?
Banking, all that. No?
Islamic banking,
trading, models.
sukuk,
basically,
everything.
But you don't actually practice it, so you don't go much
Well,
deeper into it.
not really. I mean,
at that time.
You know, I know, but when we look at takaful, you are looking at a balance sheet as well.
Yes.
And as a balance sheet, you know, your liabilities, you got your takaful contracts, you know,
Right.
but your assets, you know, you got your sukuks, you got Islamic banking there, you know. So I think, you know, it's very important that you understand Islamic finance as well in order for you to do takaful.
At least have a big picture of the whole industry, you know, Islamic finance industry. Yeah, you asked me that what year? It was in 2010, I think.
So
2010.
there was what after were you already in MNRB
I
Retakaful?
was already MNRB Retakaful. I was already the CEO, and I was already almost crossing 60 years old.
So you were doing it part time.
Of course, part time. I seldom go to classes. But I made sure the last part of before the exam for 1 month, I will go for the classes.
Okay.
Okay. But because my encouragement to the staff or to these people, to my staff especially, you know, my work helps my study. My study helps my work. So that was the pushing factor for me. So I find it very easy, especially the project paper. You can write like a person who already has experienced many things compared to another guy maybe 20, 30 years old who hasn't experienced much in life. So you'll be writing totally like book style. You know? Well, people like us will be writing like our own style. Things like that, you know.
We write from experience.
Yes.
Others write from references.
It's not from the book, is it?
Not from the book.
It's from your experience.
From your experience.
So to me, it really helps by virtue of your work help your study help your work. So it helps both.
Going back to MNRB Retakaful, what happened? Why do you move from a standalone Retakaful operator to a Retakaful window within MNRB?
That I wouldn't know much, but I think the same problem started. And again, we don't have any. Some really Islamic finance knowledge, I think, in that group. I don't know. I may be wrong then, you know. But another thing, maybe on the financial impact of it. So it's better to a window so that they can use a lot of this, not say outsource, but a lot of the some of the backroom jobs be done by the same people that in the whole group.
You know that you are the only. I know not. I mean, we got Retakaful windows in Malaysia. We got Swiss Re. You got Munich Re. There are Retakaful windows. But in terms of you know, homegrown kind of operators, Retakaful, MNRB Retakaful is the only window. Basically, I think you're right, kan? So basically, that's inside on mainland per se, lah. So I guess by going to window, you save on expenses,
right?
And you have dedicated takaful pools, as it were, right? So so let's continue on your journey. So after you were also a board director of Saudi Re for a while, weren't you?
Yes.
That was after MNRB Retakaful.
After. Because when I retired in I retired 2010, I think. 2012.
Yeah.
Was my last. Because I told them I'm going to stop once I cross 60.
Okay.
So I was crossing 60 or 61.
Yeah.
Stop, and I was offered a job. I was offered directorship in Exim Bank.
Oh, Exim Bank first.
Exim Bank, frankly, I don't know why they took me.
So Exim Bank, Export-Import Bank.
Owned by the government.
Owned by government.
So when I start asking, they said it's because of my knowledge of the international market. Number one. Number two is the insurance.
Yes.
Because they do insurance for the overseas market and my knowledge of the overseas market. So that brought me into Exim Bank. At the same time, I was taken in by Bank of Tokyo, which also now is called MUFG Bank.
MUFG Bank.
They wanted to start Islamic sort of banking. So they'd have somebody who knows a little bit of Islamic finance. So that's how I went into that. Okay. And Saudi Re, by virtue of I'm Asia, so they look at Asian market and also my knowledge of the African markets and so forth. So that helps a lot. So that's how I go into Saudi Re.
Was that a language issue? I mean, with all this foreign kind of ventures association that you went into, Saudi, for example. I mean, I know for a fact that over there board meetings are all in Arabic, kan?
No.
No?
No, because in Saudi we have representative from from Europe, who is a French.
Oh, because it's Retakaful.
Retakaful,
Okay.
and myself more from Asia. Then we have a couple of Arabs who are from various parts. You have the Egyptian Arab, you have the Jordanian Arab, then you have the Dubai Arab, then you have the Saudi Arabs.
Yeah.
Okay, so among themselves they be talking Arabic, but
Yeah.
when it comes to meetings and whatnot, it's all in English. Okay, with a little bit French indeed.
A little bit French in it.
Because when I went into the Algerian market, Tunisian market, all that, they talk French.
Yeah.
So you only meet those people who can speak English. So that stifled the expansion in that area.
Because there was a French language.
Yes, it's a French language. I took French, but nobody to talk to here. I forgot.
Nobody talked to you. I think I think basically, we can see that you're someone that's quite age is not an issue when it comes to learning.
Okay.
Yeah. So INCEIF, language is very difficult.
Difficult. Yeah.
So your journey continues.
Continues. Yeah, because I told my children and everybody within my group, especially my nephews, you should learn at least one thing a day.
Yeah.
Even today, you discover that ant has 6 legs. That is something new. This is what I told my chuchu.
Your
You must learn
grandchildren.
something new. And you'll come back with you with a lot of new things. So I said, okay. So it's fun.
That keeps you your brain active as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So okay. So I think we've talked a bit. I mean, maybe we can just finish off by maybe giving your sort of advice, basically for companies that want to, or for countries that want to go into Islamic finance, and then in terms of what are the success factors that would contribute towards this, because I think it's important that we appreciate that Islam is basically a holistic kind of religion. We're not talking about prayers, we're also talking about the way that we live our life. And one of the important things is that you got your halal food. You must also have halal financial services.
Right.
So I guess that having grown, if you like, with not just in terms of the Malaysian market but overseas market, you give snippets, if you like, in terms of what you saw overseas that perhaps did not actually was not conducive, if you like, to the growth of Islamic finance. So if a country X were to basically consider going and building up Islamic financial kind of environment, if you like, what would be the right way to do it?
In fact, your question is actually a question raised by a Bosnian.
A Bosnian.
When I went to Bosnia,
Yeah.
met an insurance company there,
Yeah.
and they want to sort of operate Takaful.
Yeah.
So I said the first thing is the regulation must be there. I mean, regulators' mindset must change, regulators' attitude must change, regulator must make sure that the whole thing develop well.
Yeah.
That stuff.
That stuff.
The answer was that stuff.
His answer was that stuff.
Yes, that's right.
And why did he say it's tough?
I don't go deeper into that.
This is Bosnia after the war, obviously.
After the war, yes.
Yeah,
after
yeah.
the war, okay. So that's somehow representative of the answer given by many other people.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to mention a country whereby so much about Sharia talk when they're in the country, but they don't even at that time they don't even have a Sharia advisory council in the regulator. Though they said we have a Sharia council, but I said, can I meet any one of them? We don't have any yet. So things like that, So meaning that the desire, the spirit to make it really holistic is a little slack there.
It's lacking
It's lacking, yeah.
because they don't have that.
So it has to be
people,
holistic.
the kind of people.
So we started off quite well because Benegara, and that we have to salute Benegara.
Yeah.
So he put everything there, and then you start going in.
So basically, what you're trying to say here is that everything starts with the regulator.
Right, regulator.
So the regulator must put in place, the kind of regulations that is conducive to the development of Islamic finance.
Right.
And the regulator must be willing to provide. I think going back to the fact that you salute Bank Negara, is one of the things that Bank Negara did was that when it comes to regulations, they applied it to conventional first.
Right.
Give time for the Takaful operators to adjust and then apply it to the Takaful operators. You know, so that kind of concession, if you like, is also important. You cannot go on the basis that, you know, everything must be the same in terms of regulations. As long as you are confident that you can manage the risk that is associated with perhaps, you know, different kind of rules applying to conventional and Islamic finance, if you like, you know, or Islamic Takaful, you can manage the risk, let it be, because you're talking about, you know, industry is in its infancy, as opposed to a conventional kind of industry which has been there for hundreds of years, basically. So it's important to recognize that situation, and also you're trying to say as well that the regulators must have some form of awareness in terms of the Sharia issues, because I think one of the issues that we see, just by way of contrast, you know, in the glory days of Islam, you know, we have got, you know, basically so-called rulers, governments, which are very much as well scientists. So they know about not just the day-to-day issues, but also in terms of the scientific kind of mathematics, if you like, issues, or not issues, I guess, in terms of what works, as it were, you know, from the perspective of the real world. Okay, so science and maths basically explains what works in the real world.
Right.
But now, you know, in the state of the Islamic world we've got now, you know, we've got, they call people in the secular side and people on the Sharia side. And in some countries, you see, your experience is they don't talk to each other.
Yes.
And then the Sharia, you know, very much, you know, trying to interpret the Sharia law in accordance with what it was 1400 years ago, as it were.
Right.
You know, I mean, you know, we have got akal. We should be able to use our akal per se, but, you know, there's limitation in terms, you know, how basically logic plays into that equation. So yeah, I mean, regulations, you have to start with the regulations.
Right.
And the next one, you have to start with perhaps the training.
Right.
I think Malaysia, we started with the training perhaps a bit later, you know, but it's important to have formal education in Islamic finance and Takaful, because by having that formal process, then you're able to align everybody's kind of understanding, even like, in terms of this thing called Takaful, this thing called Islamic finance. And not just that, it allows the industry basically to also plan for the next stage. Because you need to be on the same level first before you can plan for the next stage. Because you need to have confidence for that. So the other one is maybe in terms of financial education, might you say, because financial literacy is very important. Insurance and Takaful is not bought, it's sold. You know, you need to be able to convince people, first of all, that insurance is something that they require because it's a service, you know, not something which is tangible. And then secondly, why they should choose Islamic products rather than conventional products. So again, I mean, it goes back to, you know, those people out there who basically, those countries out there looking in terms of developing Islamic finance, Takaful, come to Malaysia and see Mr. Labuan. No, I mean this kind of anecdotes are very important because effectively, you know, this is what makes life interesting.
Yes. And I think it's for Takaful companies. I try to sort of bring up the idea.
Yeah.
In order to strengthen the Sharia mindset, you should have the Sharia people to do risk management, to do accounts, to do all that, and they are qualified for that. That means you have a double.
That's a very interesting point because I think you go to Islamic University in Malaysia. When you learn about Sharia, you also need to learn also accounting, and finance. You know, so going back to our heydays, whereby Sharia people are also very much scientific people, per se.
Going back.
So that's what we are trying to say.
Yeah, I mean you bring
the education of the Sharia people, Sharia experts as well needs to be also molded.
So that means that you can put the Sharia guy as the head of marketing, the Sharia guy as the head of whatever accounts or something like that. So then you bring the whole Sharia spirit into the whole operation, and that easy for the third liner pula, you know. for them to accept that idea of Sharia. Sekarang ni, I would say not many companies have that, or maybe no companies have do that.
Yeah.
So make it a company's policy or company's sort of ambition.
It is continuous professional development.
Yes, continuous professional development. I'm too late already for that, but it's okay.
But I think Bank Negara has a program, has a requirement that Sharia scholars have got to go through some kind of professional development. So here, in terms of ability to actually understand the business aspect of it, right? So then when they come to make their Sharia ruling, they have some kind of experience, what the issues are.
When we started we want to focus on the non-Muslim market, we took a hit. Well, of course, he was an insurance guy. After 1 or 2 years with the company, and only recently he told me, he said, it's a smile. I thought it's just like insurance. But sometimes there's this feeling, there's some feeling, a bit different. Then you believe in that. That feeling is more like, it's not the commercial part of it, but there's a certain feeling that Takaful is a bit different, but there is a change to your thinking, to your attitude. So this is something that is very important. Somebody who is non-Muslim has that idea and has that spirit, has that belief, and he's going towards it to strengthen Takaful.
Fitrah, they call it. That you were born a Muslim, and the spirit is still there. That's why they say you don't call people when they move to become a Muslim a convert. They call it a revert.
A revert, yes.
Yeah. So here, revert from the Islamic finance perspective. Interesting. Anything else you'd like to add in terms of, it's been an interesting conversation. Anything else that you add in terms of maybe advice to the young people who wants to go into Takaful? You mentioned just now in terms of your advice to your chuchus that you got to learn one thing new every day. Which is very appropriate, I think. You must not stop learning. But in terms of those people who want to go into Islamic finance, Takaful, what would be the steps that they probably need to take?
Of course, you have to have Islamic finance knowledge, number one. Number two, it come a time, I don't know how age you are talking about, probably in the mid-20s or 30s. Number two is you believe in Islamic finance, then you see the beauty of it. If you want to go into the financial world, then you pick your choice. You can be a banker, you can be an insurance, you can be, Takaful, you can be Retakaful, and so forth.
Or capital market as well.
Capital market. It's all within the ecosystem of Islamic finance. Which basically almost like same with the conventional world, except the Sharia element. So I would advise them go for Islamic finance first. Then develop the attitude, then develop the proper approach.
The thinking,
all that. Why this is done like that? Why is this like that? So
understanding the reason.
The rationale.
Yes, and that's very important. Yes. If you know the reasons, then your conviction will be stronger.
That's right. The conviction is stronger. And we may have problem when you talk about with the shareholders who don't have all that. So the shareholders start putting their terms.
We missed that point actually. In terms of shareholders' expectations. But it's a very important point because sometimes people go into this kind of business, with the primary objective of making money. And not just making money, making as much money, if not more, than the conventional sort of counterpart of this business. But that probably is the wrong attitude. Would you agree?
Yeah. So you really have to put out and believe in what you do, and that's it. But you must know what you're doing.
You must know what you're doing. You must go in with the knowledge.
So as far as the industry is concerned now, going forward, I'm not going to give the advice to the staff. To the juniors want to go in. I think a lot of people can advise them. My little advice, go to Islamic finance first. More to the companies. Example, the Takaful operators trying to bring Sharia into the
end-to-end Sharia compliant.
Right. And as far as the Takaful is concerned, I said, let be in a platform whereby you are recognized immediately. I experienced that when I talk. I'm a Retakaful. What? How to spell? Yes. Because people don't know.
MNRB.
MNRB, like Retakaful. So long. You talk to a Japanese, you talk to them, what is that? Please spell. Okay. But then when I went to South Africa, when I said, we are also doing something at Lloyd's, but that is under Labuan Re. Immediately, the word Lloyd's, how much you can give you or how much you think you can take. We have this little share.
So it goes back to what you say about we call that visibility. So Lloyd's has got visibility globally.
Yeah, and there is this sort of reputation in
Reputation,
Lloyd's.
yeah.
And when you are in Lloyd's, you are something like that.
Yeah.
So the rating in Lloyd's really helped me pushing Labuan Re into this market.
And of course, don't forget Tun Mahathir.
Tun Mahathir, yeah.
I think with that we'll end our podcast again. Ismail, thank you very much for joining us, and inshallah, basically, the journey does not end here.
Well,
we have to continue our contribution, if you like, to the industry. Right. Thank you for those who have
thank you
obviously followed us on this podcast. Okay. And until the next one, thank you very much again.